Okay, so we're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and I've been tracking everything that's been going on across the country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne. I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he asked me, why I was getting the champagne. And I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face. And I said, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to. And the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't tell me who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. And I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home. Bye-bye. Okay, so I was up all night with many of you. Lots and lots of lives, lots of long lives. I just finished another long live, and I will be doing more lives as the day and the week progresses. So, as you know, Kamala Harris did not win the election. As the numbers stand right now, there were 18 million fewer votes than in 2020. And as I have said all along, you have to have a huge, huge turnout, and it goes to the Dems. And we didn't have it. And there's going to be a lot of speculating going on about everything that happened, everything that was wrong, every decision that was made, every aspect of this whole thing. And the reality is that Kamala Harris ran the most impressive campaign, mounting and running it and having only 3 months in which to do it. It's unprecedented, and it was absolutely magnificent. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. Impressive on a level that, she has the campaign playbook. If you're going to win, that's the playbook that you use. She did absolutely everything. The work that she did in every single one of the swing states, work that Hillary Clinton did not do. It's so staggering what the ground game was in Kamala Harris's campaign. The number of people volunteering, the level of excitement, the enthusiasm, all of it. A unicorn moment. Everything was absolutely perfect. 18 million fewer voters than the last time. But the bigger issue is, as I've started looking at the data, is I told you I was looking at the data for the Republican swing by county, the Republican swing from the red to the blue. It did not happen. And in fact, in many counties, Donald Trump was picking up votes more than he had the last time, and Kamala Harris, in the blue column, got less votes than Joe Biden did in the last election. But when you have 18 million fewer votes, you don't win the election. And it's because you have to win so many votes in the swing states. And there are so many red voters in those swing states, and you have to rely on the big urban areas to deliver the blue votes. And that did not happen. You had more Republican votes in those swing states than you had Democrat votes, even though the big urban areas were delivering. They did not deliver on the same level as the last election. And one thing you have to keep in mind is that in the last election, we had record turnout because of COVID and rule changes regarding people being able to do mail-in balloting. So it absolutely increased the level of participation, but 158 million people voted in that election. And with that level of voter participation and the race being as close as it was, especially in certain states like Arizona and Georgia, it takes an unprecedented level of participation to win the election. And because of our electoral college and the way things are set up, that you have to win the popular vote in the state in order to take the electoral votes, we are at a point where in reliably blue states, as the population has grown, so have the number of Republicans in those states, such that unless there is significant growth in those blue areas, like much more so than what's happening in the rest of the state in each case, you will not have enough blue votes to outdo the red votes. But the bigger issue is that 18 million people who voted in the last election did not vote in this one. And I can tell you straight away, they didn't all die from COVID. And so we have that to look at. But the other part of this is there is one fundamental thing that you cannot account for when you're using data to predict or project the outcome of an election, is you can't factor in the impact of racism or the existence of racism and misogyny. We've had a black president before, but we haven't yet had a woman president. And the level of misogyny that revealed itself in the voting booth, it's evident in the numbers. Absolutely evident in the numbers. And when I looked in the numbers at the county level, Donald Trump was picking up votes and she was losing votes. That was not the split in the last election when Joe Biden was running. And everything else lines up for a win, but you don't know how people are going to vote when they go into the voting booth. And they can say anything they want, say whatever to pollsters. People lie all the time. They can tell you they're voting for one candidate and they go in and vote for someone else. But in this election, what we've shown is that there is such a deeply embedded level of misogyny in America, including among women, internalized misogyny, and it showed itself in this election. Now, when Hillary Clinton ran in 2016, it wasn't evident that it was misogyny that was operating and why she lost, because she won the popular vote. She didn't win the popular vote in certain swing states, which is why she lost the election, because she didn't get the electoral votes. But you can't look at that election and say, oh, this was due to misogyny, because she won the popular vote. In this election, Kamala Harris did not win the popular vote, and she lost the election as well. And so what else do you have operating here? Racism. It's twofold. It's the double barrel. And that's what came ablazing in this election. I mean, there's no two ways about it. If that campaign was run exactly that way and there had been a man running, they would have won. They would have wiped the floor with Donald Trump. But when you have the level of participation being what it is, or what it was, 18 million votes, it's entirely possible that even a man wouldn't win. Because in the big urban areas, if they don't deliver enough votes, the candidate doesn't win. But at the end of the day, the decrease in voter participation at this level especially since 18 million people voted in the last election and did not in this one. There was some percentage of the electorate that was simply not interested in this election. And you have to ask the question, how much of it had to do with the candidates? And so it is an incredibly sad day, heartbreaking for everyone. And when I look back at my entire analysis of this, all of the analysis, 120 years worth of elections, is based on men running for office, not women, because there's no data. And Hillary Clinton everybody hated Hillary Clinton. She was the establishment candidate. It was just like everybody had a field day because they hated Hillary Clinton. It was hard to assess how much of it was because she was a woman. Well, now we know that America is not ready for a female president. And not anytime soon. It will be decades from now. And that's a damn shame, because Kamala Harris was the best candidate in this race. And she was the best for America.